Hey guys, it's just on the case. I have a new story. Well, it's new to me that I wanted to talk about. And last week we talked about Stephanie Adams. A couple days before that we talked about LaShonda Childs. Today we're talking about Victoria Climbie. Victoria Climbie was an 8-year-old girl who was not from the States. She was actually from outside the States in a different country. Um, I think she was around Uganda, around that way, with her family. Her mom had, I think, two more children. And she had an aunt who actually lived in France. So the aunt actually came to the mother and was like, hey, you know, I live in France. Things are better in around the countries. Things are better here in France. Um, I was thinking, I wanted to bring a child here, teach them, you know, help them with their studies, educate them, help them learn, because they can get rich learning from here. Here where she is, where this kid is, won't be able to get the opportunity to get the education that others are getting. So she asked the mother this because she was the aunt of the little girl. However, before the little girl, there was another little girl that she tried to take to the States. Her name was Anna. Anna's mother changed her mind at the last minute before Teresa had actually went ahead and got the actual passports and stuff. So instead of Teresa changing the passport name to Victoria, she left it at Anna because I guess it was a little girl and she didn't want to do all of that or didn't have money to do all of that over. So instead of bringing Victoria as Victoria, she brought Victoria as Anna, even though Anna was still back in her hometown um, of Uganda. So Victoria comes to France, and Victoria's aunt is Teresa Manning. She is the lady that is responsible for Victoria because her mother, Victoria's mom, basically she trusted her. And she trusted her to take care of her daughter. And she told the mother she would take care of her daughter. However, that's not what happened. What ended up happening was as soon as Victoria got to, you know, France, things turned for the worse. Victoria ended up getting abused, beat it on, hit with a shoe, kicked, kicked, and hit in the feet with a hammer. She was she was also she was also placed in the bathtub because they didn't have heat in the bathroom, and that's where they kept her. And her sheets were so soiled and so wet that they threw everything out, including the mattress she laid on, just threw it away in the trash, and had her laying there. So after a while, the people that would see Victoria every day started to get concerned. And they started asking questions. They started seeing bruises on her arms, on her neck, on her face. She had one long one right here. And it looked too deep to be just a little scratch from someone. So the lady that was concerned, she actually asked her questions. But, Victoria really did not speak about what was going on with, she did not actually speak about what was going on at home. This lady was so concerned about this little girl, and this little girl was a very nice little girl. She had a lot of life. And even though she was getting abused at home, when she got around people who had positive attitudes, she was very, very positive and very uplifting and wanting to, you know, do things. So the lady noticing that the little girl had all these bruises and scars on her and on her neck and all on her face. She went and took the little girl to the doctor herself. She pleaded with the doctors, this is not my kid, but there's something terribly going on with her. And so the little girl was admitted into the hospital. The doctors took a look at her, and one doctor said there were cigarette burns that she had on her and that she needed to be under police protection. So they put her under police protection. Another doctor came in the same place and said, oh no, that's scabies. So then they took her off of police protection and just went with the scabies thing. And this was a problem with the doctors at that particular hospital. They never was on one accord with what a patient had. It was always, no, this doctor thinks is this. They never got together and tried to come to agreement of what defines what they see. One has this and one has that. So they released her. They pulled the police protection from her and sent her home. However, social services is involved right now because they want to make sure, is this what's going on? Social services is sent to the little girl's home. However, the social worker had only been in social working for 18 months. So of course, she really didn't know a whole lot about what she really needed to do. So she's going through the paperwork and she's just doing, what she thought that she needed to do. So then she does this. She goes through the paperwork and stuff. She goes, knocks on the door. She goes to the house. She doesn't see what she needed to see to declare that the girl needed to be taken out of the care of her aunt. So the social worker leaves and goes back to her job. And she still has to do her rounds of coming, but right then she didn't find anything. Once again, the aunt brings the little girl, Victoria, which she calls Anna to everyone because she's over here illegally with the wrong name. Her name is Victoria. But like I said, she calls her Anna because on the passport, the little girl she was supposed to get, she did not. However, this is her niece she's bringing over. And you would think she would treat her niece better than what she was treating her. But she was treating her like she was just some piece of trash. So she burned her niece with some grease or something. And then rushed Victoria to the hospital and told them that Victoria was scratching so much from the scabies that they said she had that she stuck her head in the hot water. Instead of the hospital and the police getting together and thinking, now why would a little girl stick her head in a hot tub of water? Little girls would, I don't care what, ain't no little girl gonna do that. Nobody. This has to be something that someone has done to this child. And they still let her go back home with this lady. Scars. I'm talking about, I want you guys to look at the Victoria Climbie story. She had, you'll see the pictures, her whole face scarred up. Little brown chocolate little girl. Nice, pretty little girl. You're going to have to get from up here. Excuse me. But she had like scars and she had some caramel in there with her chocolate brown skin. And you could tell that what she did to her was like mess up her skin. Not only that, she brought this boyfriend around her that her aunt was living with. She treated the boyfriend way better than she treated her niece. She let the man kick her, punch her, hit her in the feet with a hammer, knock her in the head, punch her in the jaw, tape her up in a plastic bag, a black plastic bag. Tape her up so that she cannot be cold and leave her in the tub. What kind of stuff is that for an 8-year-old? And then, these people have psychological problems themselves. You can just about tell who has psychological issues. So you're going to take this little girl to church. This little girl has hypothermia from no heat, not eating properly. Body is shutting down because too much abuse is going on. Doctors are overlooking what's going on, sending her back home to these horrible people. And then she gets to church, and the people are looking at her, and they advise this lady, you need to take her to the doctor. She is not well. Take her to the doctor. So what they do is, yep, Victoria. No, the story is about Victoria, sorry. But anyway, they say, "Hey, you need to take her to the doctor. She doesn't need to be in church right now. She has hypothermia. She's dying." So they rush her to the hospital after they don't beat her, tied her up in a trash bag, put tape around it, put her in a tub, let her lay in the tub because she soiled her sheets so much and her mattress, they had to throw it out, but they never got her anything else. They shouldn't have had her in the first place. So when she gets to the doctor is doing everything they can to keep this little girl alive. The little girl, feet are cold, she's cold, and her body is just giving up from the abuse, the hypothermia, and the doctors are doing everything they can to get this little girl to, you're welcome, to get this little girl to stay alive. They did everything they could to keep this little girl alive, but the little girl died at the hands of her own aunt. Her aunt promised her mother that she would take good care of her when she brought her to France. And what she did was she abused her. And at the end, it was all over a house. She wanted a house from social services. She didn't want to be adult and pay her own way. She wanted a house from social services, so she used this little girl to get what she wanted. And she still didn't get the house. The house was denied. She was denied the house. And so after, I guess she got denied. Exactly. Oh, really? It's really bad. After she got denied for housing, she basically took it out on, she was already taking it out on the child because she really didn't want the woman's child. She didn't want the woman's child. She just wanted the child for the house. When they denied her for housing for the little girl, 3 days later, that little girl was back in the hospital. My problem was, how did the doctors not see that there was abuse going on? How did they keep continuously letting her go back to that house? Social services allow her to go back to that house with all those bruises. She had a burn on her face from the grease that they poured on her. And now it's like she's dead. The little girl is dead. When she died, she was laying on the hospital bed and they were trying to stop her from having the hypothermia. And they couldn't. It was too late. The blankets weren't working. They couldn't warm her up. She just basically faded right there on the bed. And after that, they looked at the aunt. What did you do to her? What happened to her? This can't be. And the aunt basically told them that the girl was psychotic. She was had demons, and that she was trying to get the demons out of her. And these things were happening to her because she was demonic. So she had hypothermia because she was demonic. She got beat across the head because she was demonic. She had all these things because she was demonic. But really, the aunt did this to her. Her mother did not even know she was dead yet. They hadn't even called her mother. Remember, her mom lived in Uganda. This little girl is with her aunt in France. Her mom is thinking that this aunt is giving her a better education. She's getting a better life. And really, she should have had a right. That's what I'm saying. That's what I want to know. Some people should have been fired from CPS. And this police department and the hospitals need to be checked out. What signs show you that a cigarette burn to the thigh is scabies? Did you do some tests on this little girl to make sure that it's scabies, or did you just look at something and say, "Oh, that's scabies"? Because when we go to the doctor, tell me if I'm right or wrong. When we go to the doctor, if you have a sneeze or a cough, they will automatically try to tell you what you have because they don't want to do all that stuff. That's how people have cancer and stuff. Oh, you don't have anything. Oh, that's going to go away. And then it ends up turning into something else. Exactly. Now, this is an 8-year-old girl. Who wouldn't want to make sure this girl is in good health? Who wouldn't want to make sure that she's okay? If every time her aunt comes around, they say she freezes up, that tells you that there's a problem. There's something is wrong. But instead of them looking deep into it, they continuously to let her go back home with these people, the mom's boyfriend, I mean the aunt's boyfriend and the aunt, and continue to let her go back. The thing about Victoria was not, um, she wasn't very telling. She was a very good little girl. Even through her pain, even through getting beat all the time and all these things happening to her, she still was a light to everybody and she was fun and happy. But my thing is, nobody saved her from the abuse that she had to endure. Who takes a black plastic bag and put a child in it and tape the child up? That's what I'm saying. I had to, like, it's okay. It's okay to be late. But I was so sad when I heard this story that I had to tell you guys about the story. Like, I talk about Cardi B and news and all this other stuff, but my passion is to talk about life and death. And this situation over an 8-year-old dying at the hands of her own aunt, and her mother trusting this aunt to bring her to France to get a better education, to have a better life. Because you know, those people out there, they really suffer. We think we suffer. Those people suffer. They pick up cans off the ground just to get a meal. And we're out here complaining about bread that we don't like and picking at the store over stuff. And these people are out here suffering. And they're moving their kids over here any way that they can, not even sure if they're gonna make it. And thinking they're going to get a better life, and this is what a actual family member does. Exactly, and that's why I'm saying it. And not only that, you would think after a while the aunt story didn't fly with the police. They after a while they was like, no, this there is no way that this girl had demonic things going on with her and she was possessed. They said the aunt tried to say she was possessed by demons and that's why hypothermia happened. No, you were beating her. You let this man hit her in her feet with a shoe just so she couldn't run. And then y'all were punching her in her head. You was cigarette burning her. She succumbed so many injuries. Like, they didn't miss a part of her body. All her body had stuff all over it. And when you see something like that, you just can't say, oh, she slipped and fell. Every time you go to the doctor, you have an excuse to the doctor that the girl slipped and fell, or she was doing some mischievous things and this is why this happened to her. No, it is because of you. You are the parent. You are responsible. You are the guardian. You're responsible for this child. The mother still not knowing that her child is dead. Now remember, mom is in Uganda. She does not know that the baby is dead until the police reach out to her and let her know that her child has died and she has to come to the States to get her child so she can be buried and figure out what happened. The aunt and the boyfriend were charged with murder. However, before that, nobody wanted to give up what happened. So guess who told the truth? The actual boyfriend came out to police. They didn't have to beg him. He said, I didn't mean this for this little girl. I didn't mean to hurt her in this way. Yes, I was going through my own things and I did some things to took it out on her. I never meant for her to die, and I never meant for her to have so many injuries because of me. Her own aunt would not stand up and explain to the police why this young girl went through what she went through. She was still saying that she was demonic. After she heard her boyfriend told, there was nothing else she could say because he actually explained to the police what she was doing to the little girl. So, not feeding the child, and then the child gets around other people, she's really happy. Then when you come in, she just freezes up. She was laying, I saw where she was laying on the bed. Right. And remember, the aunt was doing this just get that housing authority. And I'm like, really? You did all of this you went to get your sister or cousin's child just to get housing authority, because they try to say in France it's a different name. They call it like house council or state council, but it's all the same thing. If you have to go through social services to get housing, it's housing authority. I'm sorry, that's what it is. Section 8, whatever you want to call it. There's nothing wrong with that, but if you're gonna get it, make sure you're getting it in the right way. Make sure it's legit. why would you use a child, an innocent child, to do this? And now this little girl is gone. So what they did was they basically gave the mom, the aunt, life. The aunt taunted the mother in the courtroom, trying to hurt her feelings. Like, yeah, I did it. But she was basically telling her, you're not even legally married. This is what the aunt was saying to her sister. You're not even legally married. I'm going to need you to go and get some real paperwork because that paperwork you got is not legal. This woman is from Uganda. Her paperwork might be different from ours. But you have her daughter laying on a dying bed, getting ready to be put in the ground, and you're talking to this lady like this. Why don't you explain to her why her child is dead at your hands and at your boyfriend's hands? If you didn't want to take care of her and everything failed as you did, you shouldn't have her anyway, but because you did, okay, why didn't you take her back home? She didn't deserve to die. Now they have something for Victoria Climbie. They said that they was going to make a school in Uganda, and they did. They made a school named after her. So I need you guys to go back, and I need you guys to take a look at this story and take a look at this little innocent little girl who smiled even when she was bruised up and beat up. She still smiled through it all. And I just want you guys to take a look at it and let me know how you feel. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. It's just on the case, and we're always on the case. Next week, we'll have another story for you, or maybe tomorrow, I probably will have another story for you. I might come back up here later on if I feel like it. I need to talk about people who are dying and are not being, not no one is, they're forgotten. You can't forget the dead. You can't forget people. There are things in honor of these people, of while we're not going through the same thing they're going through. They died for us. No matter what color they were, they died for us. They died so that we won't have to go through what they went through. There's a law now. There's a law with social services. When you check and you check and you see some stuff that's not right, you have to investigate. You cannot just say, oh, I'm just going to close this case. No. Now, off this subject, I keep up with the news as well. Seems like to me in the Cardi situation, Summer Bunny is really trying to get Cardi upset. Now, if you was with Offset that night, let's just get into it because it's just on the case. If you was with Offset that night, why are you taunting Cardi? Okay, you was with them. Cardi's not with them right now. She's let that know. You still saying I was with your man last night. That's not her man. You're clout chasing, and the clout is over. So leave people alone. You want a relationship? Go out and find somebody that will take your mess. Because right now, people don't have time for the craziness. We are all trying to get somewhere in life, and trying to get off on somebody else's fame. That just makes you look like a clout chaser. I just wanted to add that little bit in there because it's all about life and how we perceive and what we do for our life to be great. If you're not doing anything but negative things, negative energy is going to come down. It's going to come to you because that's what you're feeding off of. That's your vibe to the universe and to God. I am wanting to be negative, and this is what I'm doing. Like I said, guys, I'm not gonna, stay any longer. It's just on the case, and I am done for right now.